Another Wednesday night in the books, and you're back here on Wrestling Inc. It is your Wrestling Inc. post Wednesday night wrestling podcast. It is February 10th, and I'm your host, Justin LaBar, being joined by, he's now one of our regulars here on every single Wednesday. You can read all of his great work in Forbes. Most recently had an interview with the one and only John Cena, where he talks to Cena about, hey, John, are you actually not going to go to Mania? And a whole lot of other things. I'm talking about our good friend, Alfred Konuwa. Alfred, how are you?
Great to be here. Thank you for that shout out. It was a lot of fun. John Cena is a great guy. He was very insightful in our interview, and I really recommend you check it out. But he did double down on that whole thing of not going to WrestleMania. So hate to burst your bubble, but he did leave a glimmer of hope. You're going to have to read the article to see what he said.
And you can check that out at Forbes.com. Matt Morgan is scheduled to be joining us, so we expect him to be in Gorilla and do a run in here any moment. So stick with us, folks, if you're waiting for the 7-foot blueprint. But we're not going to waste time. It is the clock is ticking here on the East Coast, and the clock is ticking everywhere else. Everybody's wanting to talk about what happened. Of course, we had a go-home show tonight for NXT as they got their Vengeance pay-per-view takeover special this Sunday night. Another plug for us, cheap plug for Wrestling Inc. Triple H will be doing his normal pre-takeover call tomorrow, and so we will have full coverage both on my personal social media of @Justin LaBar as well as at Wrestling Inc. Alfred, are you going to be on that call?
Yeah, I probably will be on that call. I try to make it a habit to attend those, so I'll probably be on that one.
So there we go. So plenty of coverage from all your favorites here at Wrestling Inc., Forbes, and otherwise. So that'll be tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. So we have that for NXT, and then AEW coming off of their Beach Blast that they had last week. A lot of follow-up, of course, the biggest story being Kenta, who shows up from New Japan, and he's going to be involved in the main event. He's going to be part, and I don't think they advertised this, Alfred. I don't think we heard about it until Dynamite started. Is that correct? Because I don't remember seeing throughout today's buzz of Kenta having a match.
Yeah, no, I don't think we did. I did remember hearing that they're going to do like a lights out or something like that. But I don't know if this was much advertised until recently.
Yeah, a little surprising, but nonetheless, that was what they were going to build their show.
I think they were supposed to do it going off the air last week, and they just ran out of time. They got crunched, and they might have like squeezed it in there. But yeah, I don't really remember this being advertised.
And that would make sense because they've more so than for a lot of shows recently. I feel like Dynamite has really been. It has been 10, 9, 8. Yeah. Get out. You
see Aubrey just working her ass off, like, "Hey guys, go home."
And she is the best ref. I do think she's the best ref that they have. And you can see when she's like, just GDing them, like, "Would you guys go?" So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and kick off AEW Dynamite first. As we go through both shows, I thought entertaining, so please stick with us if you haven't seen both shows. I think both are worth talking about here. And we kick it off with a TNT Championship match between champion Darby Allin defending up against Joey Janela. Joey Janela, a bit of a slow start in the first year and a half with Dynamite, considering that he was one of the initial guys announced at that Jacksonville rally a couple years ago. But he's starting off 21, a little bit better. I think he was 2-0 coming into this match, and they noted that. In this match, Alfred, I thought this was it was a good match. It was not the match I expected. It was a little more technical, for lack of a better description. Yeah. I mean, there were some big spots, the dropping of Darby on the apron, and of course we saw some suicide dives. But again, not as hardcore spot crazy that I guess maybe you'd think when you think of these two guys in the ring together. All in all, though, they, let Janela get some hope and get some shine, make you feel like he might have a chance. But at the end of the day, Allin hits the coffin drop, and he does get the win 1-2-3. So Darby Allin, who's obviously on a path with Sting to go on to a street fight with Team Taz, you're not going to see him lose the title right now.
Yeah, we kind of should have known. I just thought it was so funny watching this match. It felt like I was being ribbed because it's like these two guys who they've had matches together in PWG that were insane. And the buzz for this match was they're going to have this crazy hardcore match. Look at Darby and Joey Janela, two daredevils. They go in there and they were doing rest holds. They're doing hammerlocks and they're technical. And it was a really fun match to watch, but there were no weapons or anything like that. It kind of makes sense because the main event was very filled with plunder and stuff like that. So maybe they wanted to stay away. But at the same time, it's like, what's the craziest thing that we can do in the ring as Joey Janela and Darby Allin? Oh, I know. Let's not do anything crazy. And it was a good match. I really liked it.
Matt Morgan.
So this is a situation where I want to halfway praise them, and then I also want to say, what the hell? I want to praise them because I get on matches, especially early matches, opening matches, and things like that, of doing things that are going to be repeated later on that night. When I was wrestling, you couldn't even use the same rest hold that anybody else was using in any match after you. Like, so you had to be creative, even if it was as boring as a bear hug. I would go to every match, and because I was the heel, therefore I'm the one leading the match. I would go to every other match and say, hey, what are you guys doing in your match? What's your finish? And what hold you doing? So then I wouldn't repeat it, right? It shows you know what you're doing, and you have respect for those that are coming after you, and you want it to be different. So with that said, and getting that out of the way, what the hell, guys? If there was ever a time for you all to jump off the side of a building and do the crazy crap that y'all do, this was the time, because this is why I don't want to say this is why, like, you know, you're there, but this is what separates you. You guys are supposedly the ones that do this better, the craptastic wrestling better than anybody does. You know, so like, this was your opportunity, and you know that they got backstage and like, you know what? All these guys, I'm sick of everybody and all these internet pundits saying all we could do is, you know, hardcore style wrestling and high spots and crazy stuff. I could wrestle. You could wrestle. Let's show them. Let's go out there and let's show them. No.
Well, and Matt, to the point, I don't know if you called Alfred. I know you're just coming on, but like Alfred said, it might have been they might have had that match planned out, and then maybe they talked to an agent, and the agent said, "No, we have a Falls Count Anywhere street fight as the main event. We can't have you guys out doing that."
Right. So that means, okay, then get creative.
Yeah.
They get creative. They're super creative. We're talking about guys that have set like fireworks off down each other's pants. You know what I mean? Like, they've firecrackers. Like, they do crazy stuff. I wasn't calling for it. I'm just saying, like, who knows what was in their head or why they did it. But ultimately, for the show, they did what you're supposed to do, guys.
I think you hit the nail right on the head as to why they did it, Matt, when you were talking about maybe there is a point of pride where these two guys are professional wrestlers, even though they do specialize in hardcore matches. Right. Maybe they did get together and say, you know, screw all these guys who think that we're just spot monkeys. Let's go out there and wrestle and show them that we can actually do moves and holds and whatnot and be complete wrestlers. Maybe it was just a personal mission for both of them to go out and show that they don't need a weapon to have a good match.
And I bet you it transitioned into that. I bet you they saw what was going on in the main event. They were told by an agent, hey, guys, let's tone it down a little bit tonight in your match. And then they're like, you know what? And I bet you it rolled into that.
Got a $1.99 super chat from Combo Breaker. He says it's been advertised all week, referencing what Alfred and I were talking about just a minute ago when we said Kenta in the main event tonight. And I didn't know if that was the first I remember hearing about it, was when they announced it during tonight's Dynamite. I wasn't sure if they had been advertising all week. Combo Breaker says it has been.
I only know about it was because I watched the special after show clip of Kenny Omega going to the parking lot chasing down Kenta. Mm-hmm. And he tried to give him the too sweet, hey brother, welcome to the American Club. And he's like, fuck you, Kenny. It was pretty funny. He totally big leagued them. Kenny right there then called for the match on camera. So again, it's like one of those deals, like, this is what pisses Raj off all the time, is like they do these things on Twitter, they'll do it on YouTube, they'll do it on these little side shit shows that Raj makes the argument mainstream fans aren't watching. AEW fans are different. I'm busy. I think we would all agree I'm the busiest man on the planet. I find time to see it, all of it. You know,
but
so AEW fans are watching all this, in my opinion.
Yeah, which is fine, but I guess the counter to that is, like, if this is supposed to be as big of a deal as AEW is letting it be, given that this main event platform of this guy coming over from New Japan and this inter brand conflict, if it's that big of a deal, you want to grab some casual people and say, look, this big star from Japan, and they're missing out on this. They're not knowing to tune in to see what this supposed big deal is going to happen.
I'm going to make the counter argument that, and it's going to piss the chat room off because they love them some Kenta. Yeah, Kenta. I know who Kenta is. I knew who Kenta was before he even came to NXT. You didn't. Anyways, with that said, for you know I'm right. You know I'm right. Anyways, listen. I don't think mainstream fans would be interested in them. I don't.
Yeah. Well, then that begs the question: is this worth it? So we're catering to.
Weren't you part of our conversation about this last week when I was going off about it?
I was here. Yes, I remember. Yeah, and I'm still with you. I just, you know, you're catering to these people that are going to watch anyways, and you're making it really cool that all these people are showing up. But is it worth it at the end of the day?
Yes.
I will say this: Kenta.
Where were you? Hang on. I've been meaning to ask you. Where the hell have you been, Alfred?
Oh, well,
he was interviewing John Cena as his new John Cena interview on Forbes.com. Just dropped.
No big deal. No big deal.
Just off, interviewing this guy who's on a Super Bowl commercial, former WWE champion. No, but I will say this. Okay, with KENTA, I don't think it's a big deal that KENTA himself is in AEW. I do think it's a big deal that a New Japan star is in AEW. Like, that could have been Bad Luck Fale. All the love to him. Whoever it is.
I want Bad Luck Fale.
I'm just saying.
I want to get a chance.
That's the thing. I'm just saying the fact that a New Japan guy is in AEW is a bigger story.
No,
KENTA just happens to represent that.
So we'll get back to more KENTA stuff, obviously, when we get to it. Let's keep it moving, though, in Dynamite. Another big story going on. We see backstage Sammy Guevara. He brings a cameraman. I do love AEW's awareness of, like, okay, there's a camera here. So, and they always acknowledge there's a camera here.
Yes.
Brings the cameraman in, clears out the inner circle dressing room. Everybody except MJF tells the camera to stay. And basically, he and MJF going back and forth, him saying, MJF thought Sammy was jealous, and then he's like, "No, that's not what it is." MJF says to Sammy, "You don't like Chris Jericho. You have a problem with Chris Jericho." Sammy, of course, refuting that, and then MJF, who had at some point pulled his phone out and put it on the table, gets Sammy to say some things, and immediately grabs his phone and says, "Okay, I'm glad you said that." And Sammy realizing, "Oh, you've been recording me," grabs the phone, throws the phone against the wall, and then gives a hell of a gut punch to MJF that takes MJF down to the floor. So, I mean, guys, what'd you think of this?
I liked it. This was good. I like all the details to it, too. The little tiny details, keeping the cameraman in there, acknowledging the camera. Sounds small, but I dug that. I like the stuff with the phone even. And that was a hell of a shot to his stomach. Oh, my God.
These details were not small at all. I think they were the difference between Sammy Guevara being a very credible babyface and just being a standard babyface. I think the way this guy is wrestled, he's already going to be a really good babyface. We all know that. But just how this character acted tonight, he's like the smartest guy on AEW TV, to where he can't be outsmarted with the phone trick. He knows that MJF is on his way to try to run a coup of the inner circle, just like everybody watching at home. He's like the voice of the person watching at home, and that's one of the reasons I think he's going to explode as a babyface, because he's on to what they're doing.
That's a really good point. Like, that's a really good perspective, actually, that he's the fan at home watching all this going, "Come on, wake up, Chris, wake up, inner circle. Don't you see he's working you?" Like that, and that's really important for a babyface to be relatable. That's ultra relatable shit right there. So yeah, good call.
Yeah, I like the drama that's going on, and of course the story would expand as the night goes on. We'll get to. I like the drama. I like the acknowledgement of the camera. The only thing that's kind of funny is Sammy's worried about being recorded, and I guess having his words obviously edited and what happened, duped by MJF with the phone. But it's like, Sammy, you have a camera right here who's just documented all this. Jericho can just go back and see this. And, got to suspend a little disbelief, I suppose.
You just took like 5 points away from this for me. Why'd you do that?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Jody Shauna Jenkins, 5 Canadian random thoughts. MJF is so good. The Acclaimed are so freaking cool. KENTA is too small. Please, please, please give me Cage destroying everyone.
That might be my very favorite, the best super chat you have given. You've given lots of good super chats, Jody Shauna Jenkins, but that is my favorite one thus far. I cannot agree with any of that more. We all love MJF, but Acclaimed, big fan of them. Love them. I think it's so different. And they look the part, God forbid, they can kick your ass. They look like athletes. And they're talented as hell. I like their gimmick. Ooh, John Cena. No, they're not John Cena. And Brian Cage screams world champion. I don't know what they're doing with him.
Yeah, a lot of questions there with Brian Cage.
I think he's the AEW equivalent to what Bobby Lashley is in WWE.
Monster
he gets protected, and you're just like, okay, we're waiting for him to explode. He's got the ingredients, and they just don't go all the way with him.
That's a pretty good analogy, Alfred, actually. That's
both look like $1 million, right?
And in a group.
Yeah, and in a group. A good group, too. I love Taz's group.
Me too.
And I just realized I have Raj Giri's name thing up under my picture here. Nobody said anything. Here we go.
Somebody reads them.
Everybody just assumed I was Raj Giri. Yeah. No, it's a great analogy you make about. And here's the thing: who's that opponent that we all want to see Brian Cage have in AEW? Because you know how in WWE it's like, why haven't they done Bobby Lashley versus Brock? What's the equivalent in AEW? What is it they need to do with Brian Cage?
They don't have that Brock. They don't have that big, jacked up, believable. Oh, well, no, they don't. No, they don't. Brian Cage is it. That's really it, right?
Not yet. Wardlow's not established to that point yet.
No.
You know, well, I mean, I guess Hager maybe.
No.
All right, don't get hot.
You said Bobby Lashley versus Lesnar.
Well, I'm trying to think of like just two big. I'm trying to think like Hager, a shoot fighter. I'm just trying to think of something. You know,
I don't think they don't have an equivalent to that. That's I don't think they do.
All right.
They don't.
All right, next up, we get some tag team action. Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson up against Peter Avalon and Cesar Bonani. Good tag match here. Not too long. The big takeaway, though, here is Johnson getting the pin. He's the one who gets the pin, and he gets a little,
shine.
Little shine. He gets a little celebration promo afterward on the stage.
So let me ask you guys something. Like, they don't have much time on this show to get everybody in. Lee Johnson, I was always kind of, rooting for it, watching him on Dark now for quite a while. But like, is there space? And is he somebody they're actually going to really do something with?
I mean, I really didn't get that feeling watching tonight. You could tell that they're into him and that they gave him the promo and they gave him the win and everything like that. And Jim Ross loves saying big shotty. It's hilarious. But I don't know if we're going to see much more of him consistently. Like, I think the next time we see Lee Johnson, maybe 3 weeks from now, a couple weeks from now. That's kind of the problem with AEW as long as they have one show.
Well, it should be noted, he is signed to AEW. Tony Khan actually put out a very flattering tweet tonight during Dynamite, announcing the signing, but also noting how back when early on in the pandemic, if you guys remember, when they had to do those like crazy ass 8 weeks of tapings in like, a 36-hour period in the school in Georgia, he put over how Lee was just a great hand for them and was, just made all the right first impressions. So when I saw that tweet and then hearing he signed, that made me actually think a little more like, okay, there might be something to this.
That's good to hear.
It should be noted, they made a point to say that Lee, after last year's going 0-29.
Yeah, this was his first win in AEW, so good for him.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on here, we got a backstage with the Young Bucks. They said they are going to put their AEW World Tag Team Championships on the line against top contenders, Santana and Ortiz. So that I think that's happening next week, I believe, on Dynamite.
And that'll be a great match.
Yeah.
That'll be a great tag team match.
And we also see Hangman Page backstage. He gets approached by Matt Hardy, and Matt, of course, wants to lure Hangman away. We'll get more of that in just a little bit. All right, now we get Pac with Rey Fenix in his corner up against the Hollywood Hunk, Ryan Nemeth, excuse me. So Ryan Nemeth, of course, as they've noted before or on the internet.
Why are they calling him Nemeth? It's Nemeth.
Is it? Maybe I misspoke. Is it Nemeth?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I thought the announcer said that way. No, it's Nemeth for sure.
Nemeth. So we see him again. We've seen him now for a few weeks. Of course, the internet rolls around. He is the younger brother of Dolph Ziggler. No word yet on if this is if he's on his way to being signed or what the situation is here. But this was just an ass kicking by Pac overall. He gets the victory via submission, as he should.
Yeah.
He's just there to get some bookings. It's a favorite of Dolph as well. But hopefully he made the most of it. Hopefully they saw something in him. He is good, by the way. I remember him in NXT, and I never really thought or was it FCW? Here in Florida, we used to get FCW on TV. So whether it was FCW or NXT, I'm not sure. I thought he had promise. I really did. I thought his promos were pretty good. We'll see. But again, guys, they don't have enough space or time on the show.
Well, we do have time to tell you about Manscaped. This episode is proudly produced and sponsored by Manscaped. And guys, Valentine's Day. It's on its way. It's this Sunday. So when the lights go down and you watch that TakeOver Vengeance and you see who's going to win the Dusty Classic, who's going to walk out as NXT World Champion, and then it's time for a little amore. You don't want to get embarrassed. You don't want to be caught with your pants down and your junk not ready.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize, Manscaped. I've got to cut in here. So your night of hang on. Your idea of a romantic night with the missus is let's watch some wrestling. P.S. Then we're gonna go to bed and really
wrestle. Valentine's Day is coming.
It's an aphrodisiac.
Hang on, Larissa. Would you find it romantic on Valentine's night that instead of taking you out to a nice dinner? Hurry up, come here. I'm on the air. I want to hear this. I want to hear this real reaction time. Larissa, there's the missus. You can see her. All right, Mrs. Morgan, put you on the spot, live on the air. Valentine's Day this Sunday. Would you find it romantic of me if I watched wrestling on television with you, in front of you, no less, occupying it, and then afterwards, little something at nighttime afterwards, instead of taking you out to dinner first? Wrestling or dinner?
Wrestling.
What? She said that's the right answer. You know that's the right answer.
Woo!
Okay, I stand corrected. Continue this Manscaped ad.
And she's saying, Mrs. Morgan is saying wrestling because she knows that Mr. Morgan is already using the Manscaped products. So she's turned on. So
Pizza.
Larissa, don't I use Manscaped?
Yes.
2 million men. Matt Morgan's one of them. 2 million men. I as well. 2 million men trusting in Manscaped products to groom. Now make sure you're one of them. And again, we've all been there, whether it was, yesterday or years ago. You're trying to keep yourself in check, and the nicks and the pricks and the no, not this. The lawnmower. See this? It's got all kinds of good technology, good pieces to make sure you get the job done. You get the weed whacking you need it done, but you're not going to hurt yourself. That's what you need. Your girl, if you got ladies, for the ladies out here that are listening and watching, if you're trying to find a present for your man and you want it to be a present that's also going to benefit you in a way, Manscaped is the way to go. And what better than the Perfect Package 3.0? We're talking about the revolutionary lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. Of course, we got all the other amenities that go with it. We got the brand new cologne, which again, I know Matt Morgan's wearing. We got, of course, the ball deodorant, because we all know things get funky sometimes after a long, hard day working. All of this from Manscaped is what you need to get a hold of here. And Manscaped 3.0 package. And if you want to go ahead and try it, guess what? The perfect package for your perfect package. You can get 20% off and free shipping if you use our Wrestling Inc. code of INC. Go to manscaped.com, use the code INC. All these products, great products. Again, the lawnmower, this is the main event. This is what starts it all. It's also waterproof too, so adds a lot of options in the bathroom of how you want to do your grooming and do your cleaning up. Manscaped.com. Use the code INC. Get 20% off, free shipping with the code INC at manscaped.com. 20%. Happy Valentine's Day from Manscaped. And we thank them for the support of this podcast.
Very well done. I think I have some Manscaped on its way to me, so I'll be number 2,000,001, and I can't wait.
There you go. Manscaped. It's the reason why Matt Morgan can watch wrestling and then get some with the wife after the fact. All right, keeping back to the program here. We get the highlights of the wedding between Kip and Penelope and all the interruption that we get from the best friends. So that story is going to continue on. They do cut away to a shot of Chuck and Orange Cassidy sitting there drinking champagne out of the bottle. Backstage, we get Dasha talking to Chris Jericho, and she notices that he's got everybody else there except for he doesn't have Sammy, he doesn't have MJF, and here comes MJF, who's got tape all around his ribs and it's telling the whole sad story to Jericho. Jericho can't believe it. Sammy wouldn't do that, but where's Sammy? We can't find him. Well, it's time for their match. They head to the ring. Chris Jericho and MJF up against the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed have very entertaining entrance. If you didn't see AEW, go back, watch it. They do a little rap knock-in on Jericho and MJF as put over earlier. These guys are going to be stars. Entertaining match. I mean, Acclaim really, Acclaim beating down on MJF's ribs, but in the end of the day, ultimately MJF and Jericho do pick up the victory. Jericho via pinfall after the Judas effect. First off on the match, guys, what do you think of the match?
I'll be very quick, Alfred. I love the attention to detail on the ribs. I do. It's so old school. That's something you'd see back in the 80s, where there's an early segment on the show where Mean Gene's got somebody out there to do a promo, when he used to put the stage out there in the middle of the fans, if you remember, toward the entranceway, if you remember, and like say somebody gets up there, gets to a scuffle with that talent later on that night, that talent wrestles, they're selling that injury, they're taping their ribs, I love that so much, and I love the heat. If you go back and watch the match, the heat that the Acclaim put on is old school heat. You pick a body part and you stick to that body part. You can still get what we call meat chopping in, which means you want to get your shit in, as it were, meaning you want to get you might have to hit a different body part to hit a really cool, flashy offensive move in the heat, but you always go back to that one body part that's injured. And they did that perfectly tonight. So these aren't just guys that can rap and are entertaining, charismatic, and all the star quality possible, but the boys can work. They can work.
Absolutely. And what's weird because they're put up against two of the biggest heels in the company. And, Acclaimed has been heels up until this point. But they were put in a position to where when they were doing their raps, the crowd was allowed to cheer them and they couldn't wait. They were all too happy to react to all those lines that Matt Caster was putting down. So I just really love them. I really think that AEW should focus on them as a heel, because I think they could do just so much more and they could rap about so much more as heels first.
Yes.
But they're obviously two guys who people want to cheer for. And this is another spot where they haven't been in AEW for too long, and they're in there against these two veterans in a big spot, and they look like they belong. Like I've never ever seen Acclaimed in the ring and thought, in a couple of years or anything like that. I just think these guys are on their way. And to Matt's point in terms of the thread, I do like how what happened in this match, something that happened before in a prior segment carried on to here, and then it led to what happened later. So I really like the thread of continuity throughout this.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that point. That was one of the things I wanted to bring up is the fact this was a rare heel versus heel tag team situation. But I thought it was handled well. Before we go to the aftermath, which is the big story of what happened after this match, a quick super chat. Brad Swent, $4.99. He goes, Lee Johnson didn't mention QT's name when he was thanking people, and QT looked pissed. If anyone cares, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I didn't catch, but AEW is about their details. So
and maybe that was a setup because there's you know what I mean. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to see if one thing I was paying attention to in terms of facials was what MJF's face is going to be here in a moment. So we have the Inner Circle celebrating, everybody again except for Sammy celebrating MJF and Jericho's win, and then all of a sudden here comes Sammy's music hits. He comes out and Jericho where you been? You're late, not showing up, and now you're punching Max in the stomach. What's going on? And Sammy basically says, "Look, I told you back in early December, if one more thing happens with him, meaning MJF, then I'm done." And he goes, and something happened. He goes, and so I'm done. So Chris, I quit the Inner Circle. And MJF had quite the face of, oh, my master plan is working. Sammy storms off, and they eventually catch up with him after the break. Alex Marvez does, of him leaving the stadium grounds and says, I just need some time to get away from this place and clear my head. So, and just to be noted, Sammy Guevara, he comes out through the heel tunnel when he went out there, makes his declaration that he's out of the Inner Circle, leaves through the babyface tunnel. So the face turn has happened.
He's going to be a great babyface. Great babyface.
He is, and honestly, I don't want to see him for another couple of weeks until the next major thing happens with the Inner Circle. Like maybe MJF does do a hostile takeover, because if he comes back with that head of steam, I mean, his roller coaster of stardom is just going to be even bigger. I don't want to see him back next week after saying he's going to take some time off or whatnot. No. Like he was a smart guy who knew all along, so I want to see it pay off and him coming back and helping fix what he knew was going to get destroyed.
If they do this right. And I will, and I always try to make some type of comparison from my past or whatever if I could, but it's tough sometimes. Like I'm not going to compare the Main Event Mafia to this Inner Circle, obviously, but at TNA in the Main Event Mafia, I was supposed to be joining, and then they kept trying to set up roadblocks, and the deal was I had to go through every single member. So a better example, much better example. Let's take that away. Diamond Dallas Page, NWO. He went through everybody, and it was such a great build for his babyface character that he finally got over with me. I always thought he was too skinny. I thought he looked too old. I didn't think he looked like he can hang with them. And then he grew on me. He just did as a kid watching. He grew on me. I ended up being a fan. I hope for Sammy's sake that they do this the right way, and if they do, Sammy goes through each of that group. The only downside of this, no offense, that Inner Circle, what the hell? That Inner Circle, is weak looking. I always thought it was Sammy, Jericho, and now MJF, right, with Wardlow. But like Jack Swagger and then, Pride and Powerful, whatever the hell. Like, I don't know. They're like stables. The stables I just mentioned are like Hall of Famers and shit. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I hope Sammy better go through all of them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with all of you guys. Hopefully he does take a little time off. He is going to be a great babyface. He worked with us here in Pittsburgh early on in his career, and he's a great babyface with his moveset alone.
Yes, that's what we mean. That's what me and Alfred have been saying for a long time. His moveset is all baby, right? Like AJ. Yeah. AJ's a great babyface moveset guy, but AJ ended up becoming a damn fine heel, believe it or not, eventually when he got to WWE. So I think Sammy's bigger money one day, honestly, as great of a babyface as I think will be in a heel. down the road. I'm talking like 5 years down the road.
Yeah, and so I mean, here's the good thing of Hope is that it seems like all the booking with the Inner Circle, it's not happening on the fly. They're not showing up Wednesday morning going, all right, what are we doing? Like they clearly have a roadmap where they want to go. So it gives me hope that Sammy takes some considerable amount of time off, and then Ray Wynn has that point where MJF, figuratively speaking, has the gun to Jericho's head and is getting ready to just take everything from him. All of a sudden, Sammy Guevara has that opportune time to pop back up.
Yeah. Now, a lot of these little things have been happening right down to that smirk you were talking about, Justin. And like each step of the way, AEW is rewarding its audience by paying attention to these little things because all this stuff's going to pay off somehow.
Yeah, and there's a swerve coming. Sure. Is it does Wardlow defect from MJF? Is it does Hager pop up and do something we don't expect? Like that they got some kind of a sharp left turn they're going to give us. So
really quick, Wardlow, you love Wardlow, you know him, you'll like this. I was watching what's it called on YouTube? Come on, Being the Elite. Mm-hmm. And they had a cool, funny as hell little part there with Wardlow in it. And it was of the Dark Order man crushing on Wardlow. Yeah. And one by one, they were coming up to him, like giving him Valentine's cards, trying to like win his affection. And Wardlow pulled it off. His acting was really freaking good, actually. It wasn't dumb meathead, just sit there with a blank face. Or he did a really good job with it. Like he showed a little bit of range. I'm being serious. Mm-hmm. And certain glimpses, the way his hair was up, I'm like, he looks like Roman a little here. He looked like a star. I don't know how to say it. Fans in the chat room, those of you that watch Being the Elite, back me up on this if you saw it and know what I'm talking about. It was really good. Wardlow has got such potential.
It's cool you say that about 2 years into his wrestling career when again he was wrestling here in Pittsburgh and I think he was our middle of the card champion. I'm managing him, and one of the first times we really asked him to kind of break away from just being solid, powerful man with war in his name. He was doing I think we were doing something like he was going to take on like all 3 or all 4 guys of this group called the STDs, the sexy talented dudes. So you can imagine the type of shenanigans and promos they do, right? And so he had to do, he and I had to do some pre-tape stuff, and then doing the stuff with the bowling ball and the balls and all kinds of different stuff that I remember him pulling me aside, going like, "I can't do this," and I said, "Yes, you can. You're gonna," and like I kind of explained to him, here's why you're gonna do it, here's why it's gonna work, and it did, but I think about things like that, and so when you tell me that, Matt, I haven't seen that Being the Elite. I'll go find it. That it makes me think, man, I'm glad that he dropped his shoulders early and learned how to like try some things like that early on before getting to a big stage like this.
So good. And it looks like such a small part, but it wasn't. It wouldn't have worked without his reaction. Yeah. It was so freaking funny. It was so awesome. Good.
Yeah, I can't wait till they let him. They just don't let him talk. It's not. I think there's a perception that the guy can't cut a promo. But they were doing this Inner Circle segment a couple of weeks ago, and he only had like 2 lines, and that's all I remember from the segment. It was when he's yelling at Jack Swagger, and he was great. He was just great. Like, this guy's looking at me. Get him to stop looking at me. He's got all the personality in the world. It was great.
Again, simple line, but it doesn't work if you can't pull that off. And he's good. He's good.
Yeah, sometimes less is more.
Yes.
All right, now we go to the bar where Matt Hardy has gotten Hangman Page, and Hangman Page just slamming down quadruple bourbons. And basically Hardy pulls out a contract and, hey, look, I'm going to make you a billionaire. I mean, granted, I'm taking 30%, but when you make that much money, 30% doesn't matter.
So good. So good.
He gets Hangman to sign it. Well, why Hangman is drunkenly trying to sign his name. Hardy then whispers into the camera, again, awareness that there's a camera, of, I wanted you here to document this. He gets him to sign it and then runs like a thief in the night and says he's going to be a little mad when he sobers up.
Awesome all the way around. Matt Hardy's doing something. Again, I feel like I'm just putting over everybody tonight, but Matt Hardy crushed it. He's been crushing it with this Big Money Matt character, man. I love it.
Yeah, no, he's great. Yeah, I love the $1 billion thing because it's like such a carny thing. Like, he's not going to make you $1 billion, but he's so certain. I'm going to make you a billionaire.
That's the word I wanted to say. I love carny Matt Hardy.
Yeah, he's so great.
Ms. His Hardy here. I love it. All right, so then we get some more. We get some more pre-tapes. This is a new one. Kenny Omega is on the golf course. He's chipping from the bunker, and Alex Marvez just appears on the eighth hole.
Yeah.
And,
dude, go ahead. Say what happened in it though.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so basically he shows up, wants to talk to Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega bothered that he's being interrupted, and then Omega says, "Watch this." He does the chip shot. The ball goes 50 yards past the pin, but the entire time that Omega's just doing his heel shtick to Marvez, Callis and the caddy are pushing the ball back until eventually it drops in the hole, and Omega proclaims, "Look, I got an eagle."
So this was awesome. This was creative, a completely different aesthetic, which in my opinion always works. Out of the damn arena, out of the backstage area, whatever have you. It looks different, so therefore to get your attention right away. And it was good. He was good in this. Yeah. This was funny. This was
very well produced. Like a lot of times when wrestling goes on location, it looks cheap or whatnot. This looked like a real like television show type production. It was really good how they did this.
And it was good that he called him out. Like, dude, I'm playing golf. What the hell are you doing? What are you doing here? Like, that was good.
Yeah, called him out that I'm playing golf, and you expect me to be sitting around a monitor taking notes.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm the best in the world. Yeah, this was, and this was a good Kenny Omega heel promo.
It was. Felt like a bigger star again.
Yes. All right, we got some women's action. Is the women's title eliminator tournament. Of course, this is broken in two halves. There's the Japan half, which I believe in the advertisements they showed tonight, the first matches are going to take place on YouTube at 7:00 Eastern next Monday. So we'll see that side, and then we're getting, of course, the U.S. side here on Dynamite. Thunder Rosa versus Layla Hirsch, legit Layla Hirsch. I thought these two ladies complemented each other very well. Overall, in the end of the day, though, we do see the victory go to Thunder Rosa. She gets the pinfall after she hits her Thunder driver. Matt, what did you think of these ladies?
It's very solid. This was good. Yeah, we get on the women's, how they booked their women's division, I should say, rather, on AEW. Not, in the past, not really showcasing their bigger studs. But this was another sign toward their future, and their future, women's talent's going to be really damn good, and it's got to continue to keep growing them. Again, this is the problem though with just 2 hours, man. I like the tournament, by the way. I forgot to say that. I like this tournament. I like that you just gave the shout out to what time we can watch it on YouTube. I don't know. I think it has I don't know. Anytime I'm a mark for tournaments, it makes it feel like a sports feel to it for me. And anytime it involves overseas, it makes it feel even more real-ish, sportish for me, I guess I could say. So I don't know. I like it. I'm going to watch it, actually.
Yeah, this was on paper, to me, looked like it was going to be a great match, and it over-delivered in that standpoint. Like this, I can't think of, and this isn't even a knock on the AEW women's division, but I can't think of 2 or 3 AEW women's matches that I think were better than this. I thought this was one of the better matches I've ever seen in AEW's women's wrestling because
I would say top 6, top 5. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
Because just kind of 2 shooter types who were doing a lot of technical wrestling, and they were complimenting each other very well. Like you said, Justin or Matt said that. But I really enjoyed watching this match, and I want to see these two feud. I think it was a mistake to even have them in the first round. This should have probably been the finals.
I bet you they didn't know what they had with it. I bet you they didn't. Yeah,
and mind you, Thunder Rosa still technically is NWA
really
property. Yeah, so so no, I mean, and we have
I dig Thunder Rosa. I like her a lot.
Yeah,
I do too. And we have the NWA Women's Champion is that Serena Deeb?
Serena,
and she's also in this tournament. So, one thing I missed real quick though, just a quick rewind. It happened before this women's match. There's a lot of pre-tapes. I dropped one. It's maybe one of the more important ones. Shivani calls Sting out to do an interview on the stage. Just as Sting comes out, once again we get an interruption from Team Taz. Team Taz has beaten up and hurt Darby Allin. They have stuffed him in a body bag, tied a rope to the body bag and attached it to the back of an SUV, and they proceeded to drag Darby Allin in a body bag across the parking lot. And of course, Sting hightailed it out of the arena to go try to save his friend. So the build continues here. I thought that was a pretty brutal looking stunt there.
Okay, so guys, we got to stop here. We've been very complimentary on everything tonight because tonight was a really good show, and we had really good segments, very well booked. Very well written. We got to give them credit for that too, how they've written the show, how it's been paced so far as well. This is when I was like, ugh. Because, look, even when like Hogan drove the friggin' Mack truck into the side of the damn ambulance that Rock was in, like I'll suspend my disbelief for talents I'm really excited about. So maybe I do like Darby. Come on. Did you guys really were you excited to watch a body in a body bag be dragged through the freaking parking lot? Like that was real?
Well, the fact that Darby uses the body bag so much as part of his gimmick, his presentation, I thought that was,
fine.
But
fine.
My biggest critique, honestly, of this, not so much the stunt. It's like this usage of Sting every week. I don't think it's doing him a lot of favors. He's just every week he comes out. We got to hear from the man Sting, and he's immediately cut off by Team Taz, and he just kind of looks like he comes off a little aloof. Quite honestly, this doesn't make Sting look like the badass that he should be.
Yeah, now that what are we 10 weeks into this? Looking back, I would have only booked Sting to appear 2 or 3 times if this is all they had planned for him.
That's it. Same thing. I agree with that. Wholeheartedly, I agree with that.
So we'll see the fallout of Darby's.
I'm surprised you guys didn't think that was corny about being dragged by a body bag like that.
I kind of went the other. I think it was a little too violent looking. I was looking at that like if I'm somebody who doesn't watch the show and I'm just kind of like a casual fan getting in this, I might look at this and be like, oh, I don't know about this.
Well,
like,
and
this looked too violent.
Don't you think that makes it look even hokier though? Because of that though, because come on, obviously there's not a real body in there. Obviously he's not in there.
I mean, Darby's crazy. He might have been.
So this is what I've heard when people say wrestling's fake. Oh, now I see what they're talking about. If you're a mainstream person who doesn't watch wrestling, clicking through and seeing that.
Well, the one thing though about the stunt and about it looking corny and not being a body, I'll have to go back and watch. The chat room might correct me on this, but when they did it, it looked I'm pretty sure it was all one shot continuous. I don't remember there being like
you even come on. You think he was really in there?
I'm just telling you. Go back and watch it. They showed Darby, who it's clearly him. It wasn't like a body. It wasn't a body double. They show zipping him up, and then the camera just keeps turning. There was no definitive cut of where the pre-tape part comes in. That was what was interesting to me. Is it looked all as one continuous shot. That's what was interesting.
Fine, I'll go on record saying this, and this is disgusting. I'm about to say it. If he was really in there, then kudos to. No, I can't even say that. I can't say that. I cannot cheer for somebody being dragged like that in a body.
I mean, we've seen some of the videos he shoots.
Yeah, I don't think this would be the craziest thing he's ever done if he was in that body bag. You're
probably right.
The car was only going 20 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you that next. How fast do you think they were going?
It's hard to tell because the car was going away, so
it picked up some steam. How fast? I will say. I don't know. I thought this looked really violent. I don't think it looked hokey. It looked violent to me, and not in a way that made me excited for the match. I was just like, God damn, Darby, why do you got to do that?
I think Darby would have been offended if Tony Khan goes, all right, now let's cut and let's put the stunt double in there, the body double. He'd be like, no. All right, so the debate continues. Is Darby Allin actually in the body bag? All right. We get a backstage real quick. Tony Schiavone and Jungle Boy doing a little talk there about how Marco Stunt got kidnapped by FTR. Apparently Marco's fine. So I guess FTR must have got their ransom money or whatever they asked for. And fired up Jungle Boy saying next week he's going to take on FTR and he's going to make Dax his bitch.
I will say this. I have a lot of stock in Jungle Boy. I'm certain he's going to be a star. His promo could use some work. I was very underwhelmed by this promo, given that it was such a big spot for him. But it did nothing for me.
All I kept thinking about was at least he has cool music that when fans come back, they're definitely going to be singing.
Definitely.
Jody Shauna Jenkins. Matt, how do you think Stephanie on the Taker Cross would go over on TV today? Back then, coolest thing ever. Now, not so sure.
I know, right? Back then, I do remember back then thinking like, oh my God, they're kind of pushing the envelope here. And that's back when they were doing it every damn week, pushing that envelope. But I do remember that actually, as it happened, thinking those exact same sentiments. Yeah, that would definitely not play today. Like we saw, when did it happen? Didn't ECW try it and get a whole bunch of shit for it?
ECW, the famous one for them is when they put Sandman
or Raven.
I think it was Sandman. It was Raven and Blue Meanie and Stevie Richards putting, I think, Sandman or Dreamer up on the cross.
Yeah.
And the famous thing about that was the night that Kurt Angle was there, and he was just getting ready to break into pro wrestling. And then Angle went to Heyman and said, if I show up anywhere on this TV show, my lawyers will be talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that stunt, and I also the other famous one I think about that wouldn't is remember that when Satanic Undertaker, 1999 Undertaker is getting ready to embalm Steve Austin.
Yes,
he's getting ready to cut Steve Austin open, and that was
and then he also lynched the Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 15. Can't forget about that.
He did do that. Let's not forget about that.
Where Big Boss Man takes off with Big Show's dad in a casket. Big Show runs and chases and jumps on it and has to ride it, crying.
Talking about a car dragging something, dragging the casket. As Big Show jumping on that.
You think a dead body was really in that casket?
There's a good way to. There's a good way to build your killer baby face. Have him crying like a blubbering baby.
Yeah.
His first year into the company. Stupid.
Oh, that was a great Attitude Era flashback segment there. All right. Finally, we get to the main event here. So Kenny Omega and Kenta up against Jon Moxley and Lance Archer. This is a no count out, anything goes match, which I kind of think.
What's it called? Lights out.
Yeah, I kind of think everything in AEW is an anything.
Kenny Omega called for it to be considered a lights out match because it can't be sanctioned because Kenta's not under contract with AEW. So it means anything goes. Blah 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 blah.
Anything goes. So this was a little bit of everything. This was kendo sticks. This was trash cans. Lance Archer doing a brutal looking spot, flipping Kenny Omega onto a ladder. Then they end up fighting through Daly's place. They end up in the kitchen. We get a couple minutes in the kitchen, hitting each other with potatoes, DDT on the buffet tables. Then they fight back out to the ring. Even we then see the Good Brothers come out. They're out there, Gallows and Anderson. Jake the Snake even steps in, hits a little short arm clothesline on Anderson. Ultimately, though, we get to so much stuff that was going on here. I'll make sure I don't miss anything critical. Ultimately, though, we do see it takes four guys, Good Brothers. It takes Omega. It takes Kenta. Finally, all of them to take down Lance Archer, and Omega ends up getting the pinfall overall here. So Kenta and Omega do win, and that is how we go off.
Who got pinned?
Archer.
Oh.
Yeah, that sucked. But I liked seeing him in the main event. I liked seeing him in a big match like that. I thought he did very well tonight, actually, Lance. But sucks to see him have to lose, but somebody has to lose.
Well, they weren't gonna have Moxley get pinned.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But this was good match. I dug it. Thought it was cool. Thought it was good. Very creative. Very innovative. Some of the stuff they did out there as well. Definitely very innovative. What the stuff they did out there. But I'll also tag in the whole show. I thought the whole show tonight was very good. Very good. There's literally just like a couple things that I can pick nits about for sure, but great show.
I agree. I think this is a really, really good show in terms of the storytelling. This main event made me want to see Lance Archer versus Kenny Omega. I think that would be so great because I don't think they've ever crossed paths in terms of doing anything physical in AEW. And just watching them, I was like, oh my God, like where has this been all my life?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't love that Archer got pinned, but like I said, I knew that if they're not going to pin Moxley, but I do give commentary credit. The commentary made sure to really drive it home that it took 4 people to take Archer down. So I like that.
Me too.
All right, so that was your AEW Dynamite tonight. Again, as Matt said and as Alfred said, pretty good show. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of storylines coming out of this. And they were going up against NXT, which is on a go-home show for their NXT TakeOver Vengeance pay-per-view this Sunday night. Again, just cheap plug on Wrestling Inc., both Wrestling Inc.'s Twitter and then my separate Twitter, and maybe Alfred's tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be live on the call with Triple H to hear all of what he wants to talk about, and we'll see what he will answer from us. So cheap plugs done. Alfred, let's do NXT.
Sure, we go to NXT. They open right up with the Dusty Rhodes Classic tournament match between Legado del Fantasma and MSK. A very technical match, very good high flying. A lot of creative double teams from MSK, and the finish it was just a basic, clean finish. MSK hit their double team finish on Walking Wild for the win, setting up MSK in the first slot of the Dusty Rhodes Classic Finals. What do you guys think about this match?
This is exactly how old school wrestling used to kick off, remember? It'd be like Killer Bees versus such and such. And back then, the Killer Bees were doing double drop kicks and doing like what back then was considered high spots. This was exactly how you kick off a wrestling show. This was a good match, and I have to go back and watch it to be fair, because I definitely was paying more attention to AEW at the moment. But from what I was watching, I was like, that just booking this on paper made sense to start your show off with. And it made the tournament, I know a lot of people have been very down on this tournament for some reason. I thought this made the tournament seem a little bit more important.
Yeah, this was a hot opener for NXT. MSK, kind of the same way, Matt was saying Killer Bees, the same way I can remember being as a kid watching the Rockers and like, okay, this is offense that like has never been done before. It's hard to say something that hasn't been done, but the way I feel about MSK in 2021, they're setting a whole new bar for offensive tag team.
Oh God.
And quite honestly, I mean, obviously they advanced to the finals. I'll just say it right now. I think I have to think they're winning it all. Can
I ask you a question? When you say setting new offense for tag teams, do you think their tandem offense is better than Young Bucks?
Oh, that's a hot take.
Ooh,
tandem. Because Bucks are one of the only teams besides that I've seen Machine.
Yeah, and that's probably fair. That's probably fair. I probably shouldn't leave the Bucks out. I guess the Bucks started a new trend, and MSK is picking up where they.
You know what I mean? But by doing the same thing at the same time,
yeah,
double drop it at the same time, double this at the same time, but then they do some crazy shit off the top rope. What the more bang for your buck? They do some very cool tandem offense. That's why I do like MSK. I think they're super fun to watch.
Yeah, I've gotten into them more every week.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's exactly what I was gonna say, Alfred. I wasn't huge fans of them with Impact. When they'd come on backstage doing some like pot smoking pre-tape, I'm supposed to get this innuendo. They just got done smoking, bro. Cool. Like I wasn't a fan of them because of it. I had this stain on them for some reason. I just wasn't big fans of them. And then the stupid little whatever the crap thing they used to do, like this gimmick. I was like, ugh, that's Jabron stuff. What are you guys doing? But since they got to NXT, I'm going to be honest, I've dug them and they're exciting to watch.
Yeah, and it's the simplest thing ever. They just put them in this tournament. They're winning all the matches. They're in the finals now. And 1 month later, they're bigger stars than they ever were when they came out. I mean, if you look at how long it's taken them to make Keith Lee matter, 1 month in NXT, and these guys, like, I can't wait to see them every week. And they're just doing more with less. They're just getting out of the way and letting them do their thing.
Yes, and keeping them from themselves when it comes to the pre-tapes. They're doing a good job of keeping them semi-structured on what they're saying and what they're dressed like and what they're wearing, like the segments that they're in, if that makes sense. So then once the bell rings and they're doing what they do best, which is wrestle, they're going to be stars.
Right. So we get a lot of segments here because it is a go-home show for Valentine's Day Vengeance. The first one was with Mercedes Martinez. It's a backstage promo saying that everything she's worked for led her to this Sunday, and the title is her destiny. So she'll be in that three-way for the NXT Women's Championship. Then we get another segment backstage with Scarlett Bordeaux, who's already waiting for William Regal. And he kind of very casually makes a match between Karrion Kross and Santos Escobar. And that's happening next week. It's not happening at the pay-per-view. It's happening on the 217 show a week from today. So we're getting that next week. Then we get into the ring, and it's Xia Li making her return against Cora Jade. So Xia Li comes out, just destroys Cora Jade in less than a minute. The weird thing about this match, Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro are on the outside, and they're just objecting to whatever has happened to Xia Li. Caden Carter actually goes up to the mysterious person, and she says, "What have you done to her? This is not Xia Li, I know." Xia Li throws Caden Carter off the stage, and then the figure strangles Boa, who comes and sees what's going on, and then Xia Li apologizes to the mysterious figure.
Tian Shaw's her name.
What's her name?
Tian Shaw.
Tian Shaw, that's right. That's it, Tian Shaw. And then we go to the next thing. What do you guys think about this Xia Li development?
Different, right? I always try to give credit when something's different, but man, yeah. I still think man, go ahead, I'll let you go. Go ahead.
Now, I'm a big fan of this every week. This is one of those things that I look forward to most in NXT. I put it over big last week, Alfred. I know you weren't here. I loved the backstory and the cartoon drawings and the narration they gave of this Tian Shaw and what she is and the family she came from. I mean, I just like backstories. I referenced Kane. I just love backstories. I will suspend disbelief all day long when you just give me a backstory. And so that the fact they did that, the fact I love this Xia Li transformation, and she's like she's getting her shit in, she's laying it in, like the kicks look good, the punches the strikes look good.
Yes.
So like I'm energized by this. When they did the thing coming up next, when we went to break, I made sure I kept my volume up on that screen because I was walking around the room and I did not want to miss a second of the entrance. I'm all for this.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Xia Li. I'm going to go as far as to say that I think she is a new Undertaker, the way that she's being booked. And I like the fact that there is a dynamic kind of like Darth Vader in the Sith Lord, to where she is being booked as this monster killer heel, but there is a force that's a little greater than her. And I think it's going to really help her get over, where one day she's going to have to confront the Sith Lord, so to speak. And I think it's going to make her, and hopefully they do it correctly, and it's going to make her even bigger, depending on who that person is.
This is like if the Dungeon of Doom was done right and not comically.
Yeah. Yeah, they play it very straight. I think that's the difference. This could be a completely wacky angle. But we were covering the weekly beatdown segments they were doing. It was really very funny to watch. But I think they've done a good job of making this something that you can take seriously.
Indeed.
We get the Way appearing live. So this is hilarious. For both good and bad reasons. So there's talk of Johnny Gargano was hurt earlier today. Some people thought it might have been real. There was very little known about the extent of his injury, but from the moment you see him come out, he's in this wheelchair selling his arm injury. So he's sitting in a wheelchair being wheeled around with his arm in a sling. He's really selling it to where he can't turn his head. He wants the Way to turn him around in the wheelchair. They're talking about how Kushida attacked him. We see the footage of Kushida brawling with him backstage. He says he's got 4 fractures in his arm and that Regal should suspend and arrest Kushida. This brings out William Regal. He has a conversation with Johnny Gargano, to where Gargano says he's just going to have to rehab like Beautiful Day and come back with an Easter egg for the Triple H comeback. And then William Regal says, well, what do you think about that, Kushida? And Kushida had been in the ring with the Way maybe for the last 30 seconds. And then he attacks Gargano. Gargano is exposed for faking his injury because he uses his arm, and then he gets punched back into his wheelchair and laid out. We go to the next segment. But before we do, what did you guys think of this?
Gargano, dude. He's just every week, he just continues to crush it. I can't believe I'm saying this sentence. He's must watch. I'm dead serious. Yeah. Younger talents should be watching him actually right now. They should be watching him on all of his mannerisms and his body language and his facials, because he's nailing home runs every time. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm still shocked that he's able to do this. I didn't think he'd be able to.
Yeah, I am too. I've known Johnny and his work for over a decade, and he patterned since his entire offense and character, usually when he's always been a babyface after 1996 Shawn Michaels. And he'll tell you that. And so to see him in this heel role, but he's pulling it off, and this was great. The way Kushida eventually popped up, but Johnny and him explaining the BS X-ray he's trying to show, I couldn't help. Johnny was doing. I was like, all right, who is he reminding me of? And then it clicked. Johnny Gargano in his scatterbrain trying to explain the R doesn't mean right arm, it means real. He sounded like Ben Stiller in Meet the Parents, when Ben Stiller towards the end of the movie is getting ready to get thrown. He can't put his luggage in the overhead, and he's already lost his luggage, and he's trying to explain to the stewardess why he needs to keep his bag. It was like a Ben Stiller goofy comic performance, but it worked. It went over. It just made him more of a chicken shit heel. And then Kushida pops up. He looks like a tough guy. This was really, really, really well done.
Yeah. And then when I say it's good and bad, like this was legitimately funny. Johnny Gargano is a legitimately funny guy. The way he performed, this isn't funny for a wrestler. This made me laugh out loud. And I'm just worried that, like, if God forbid the time comes where he gets to go on the main roster, that they see him as somebody, he can make us laugh. Let's make him the funny guy. I just hope that doesn't become of him, because his skill set goes beyond his comedy. But my God, is he knocking the comedy out of the park? He's something that every week I look forward to, because I know he's going to make me laugh. And that's something that if you watch wrestling forever, it's very hard to come across.
And Alfred, you mentioned about his about the injury thing. WWE played this very straight that he actually was injured, to the point of where they commented that he's injured. Like, to the Wrestling Inc. news sites were all speculating today, like, okay, he's all of a sudden not fighting Kushida, it's going to be Austin Theory. Yeah. Like, everybody started because WWE played it the way they normally do when somebody is legit injured or out, and so people started speculating COVID, all kinds of things. So good on them to really help emphasize the swerve here.
So that angle.
Yep. Tina Miller, $2. Tina saying swap money with Raj just to say Alfred's great. Oh, thanks.
Hey,
real quick, let me jump in there. Tina Miller's got a new podcast, a new women's wrestling podcast. You all need to check it out. You're welcome, Tina.
Sounds good. I'll send it. I'll retweet you there. Then we get to Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart versus Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. I like this match. I thought they all worked very hard. A lot of double team moves. The finish was particularly fun. It came when Ember Moon hit a total eclipse on Candice LeRae, who falls down and is set up for a flying senton. Indy Hartwell comes across and sacrifices herself, lays herself over top Candice LeRae, takes the senton splash. She's the legal woman, and so she takes the pin. So the sacrifice is even more profound. So they lose, and Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart are going to the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Women's Classic.
Okay. I just got the first match, talking about earlier the importance of the Dusty tournament by the way that the show kicked off and who won. For this purpose, the tournament didn't mean anything. But with that said, this was amazing storytelling. This was such great storytelling out here. Great job by all four, all around. Great job.
Yeah, and Alfred, good on you to note about the tag and the sacrifice. And so, yeah, this was I wasn't sure if I loved the Shotzi Ember Moon pairing at first. I thought it was just a little bit okay. We're just throwing two, but it's growing on me.
Yes.
Yeah, they've kind of quietly made it to because I didn't even know that they had gone this far and that they were still in the tournament. They've been very quiet throughout this tournament because I just don't see them as a team. But this was a good match. I mean, I liked watching them in the ring together. I thought they worked well tonight together.
For sure. Jackson Callens, $4.99. Hey boys, missed the shows tonight. MRI machines are boring. Anyways, Cora on NXT has bright future. Watched her in Indies even before her AEW match.
Yeah, they'll have to get her in there with somebody other than Xia Li because you're not going to get a lot of time with her.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Jackson.
We get another promo this time for Thatcher and Timothy Thatcher and Ciampa. They're talking about how they're tough dudes, and it's kind of ironic that they're facing somebody called the Grizzled Young Vets because this is old man Ciampa we're talking about, and they vow that they're going to win the Dusty Cup. Tommaso Ciampa does a thing where he just leaves quickly, and Thatcher smiles with his snaggle tooth. Then we get into Finn Balor and Pete Dunne. This is really good. It was just them going back and forth, kind of a pre-tape building up their upcoming match. Balor is saying that he'd be a fool not to respect Dunne's ability, but he, like Edge, is operating on an entirely different level. This isn't a passing of the torch. It's a burning of the bridges. And then Dunne claps back with, I'm not a threat to your legacy. The Prince's kingdom falls. So really good face-to-face.
Great sound bites. Great sound bites.
I really like when they do this. They spend a lot of time building up this pay-per-view, and I'm excited for it.
I got nothing to add to that. You guys hit it on the head. That was really strong. The ending of it was incredibly strong.
Yeah. I loved how they went back and forth.
Yeah.
Great sound bites. And Barrett's going to say it at the end. I know we'll get to it at the end when they do the final hard sell of all the matches. But like when he says Finn and Pete Dunne, like this is a match. If you're a wrestling fan from Europe,
yes, this
is a match of like two huge names coming out of Europe who obviously have made it big in the U.S. stage, and like this is a huge matchup that they've managed to get these guys in line for.
What's great about that is they saved that commentary until now, the go-home show, because that's been the thread of their rivalry is that, Pete Dunne is now the king of Europe, just like Finn Balor used to be. They talked about a lot about that. And then for Wade Barrett to come forward and say that was just like the icing on the cake.
Yep,
it was.
We get Austin Theory against Kushida. They're having a good match until Johnny Gargano, who's on the outside the whole time, he comes in, sheds his sling, starts taking it to Kushida. They're double teaming Kushida. Suddenly, Theory gets dragged under the ring, and Johnny Gargano drags him back out, or at least he thinks he does, because the camera pans out, and it's Dexter Lumis. Kushida and Lumis both end up hitting their submission maneuvers on Gargano and Theory as the Pipe the Noise chants, "Let's go, Lumis," or Dexter Lumis, or whatnot. And
so
go to the next
this was good, and I didn't have a problem with the ending of that either. That was good. That was okay. Doesn't hurt Johnny much at all. And it gives the baby faces a little bit of something there, right? A little bit of shine at the end of that. But I don't know. Was it Austin? Like when he first got there, I told you guys, I know the indie was, the indie scene was like the indie world of wrestling fans and stuff like that, and the internet. They love this guy. They're talking so much like how great he is and what a big star he'll be for NXT. And I didn't see it. I didn't. And I know I say this every time we talk about these segments with the way in it, but he is shining. He is shining big time thanks to Johnny Gargano. I don't know how to say it. But sometimes when you work with other talents, that you have a lot of respect for, and that are not perceived, but they're perennial main eventers. Like, say what you want. Johnny Gargano is a perennial main eventer, we can say, for NXT. More times than not, he's considered one. To have your back, I guarantee you was talking to him before they're doing their pre-tapes. And when you have something like that believing in you, it raises your confidence through the frigging roof. It just does. Even when the company may not see that give that confidence in you, when you have like a Brock Lesnar or like a big time talent, like a Kurt Angle or somebody like that, that thinks the world of you and tries to put you over in segments, it just, I'm telling you, your confidence skyrockets. And I think that's what's going on with Austin, because he's coming across just like such a bigger star. His body's in better shape too. Everything about him is clicking on all cylinders right now. And I got to eat it. I was wrong about him. He's freaking good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, especially the shenanigans with the under the ring stuff, and this is where I'm always going to give credit to WWE, and if we want to compare, because that's what we do on Wednesday nights, the two companies,
right?
WWE does this so better, and it shows because of rehearsals. Is how they block shots.
Yes.
That camera person had to stay tight on Johnny's face and him dragging a set of arms out. And then the way the reveal was, I mean, because if it drops once and you just get a hint of seeing just Loomis's hair, it blows the whole reveal. So I thought this was just so well executed from a cinema
versus the handcuffs last week on AEW.
Yes.
Good call, Justin.
So shout out there. Got a couple
super chats.
Yeah, such we'll get to here is Stephen Marcachilli and $1.99. Shotzi Blackheart has a Lita vibe. Main event act? Question mark.
I agree with that.
I love Shotzi.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of love for Shotzi. The entrance is different, the whole thing. Also, this is a Facebook question. We, of course, love everybody who's now watching from our Facebook, from our Twitch. Andy Long saying, Justin, Alfred, maybe unknown. Have you guys heard anything about a Mania takeover? I know with COVID and everything, just wondered if you've heard. So this year, again, a different situation because Mania, again, 2 nights, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday is normally when takeover would be. Of course, Friday, you have SmackDown. Thursday, you think will be Hall of Fame. There's talk of, is it going to be in person? Is it going to be virtual? Alfred, I don't know about you, but the last that I heard when I had checked in with anybody in the know was essentially there might not be a takeover Mania weekend, and we might actually just see a couple NXT featured matches, like an NXT World Title match on one of the 2 on one of the 2 nights of Mania.
That's the last thing I heard, is that we will at the very least get a presence of NXT wrestlers on WrestleMania if there isn't a takeover. But NXT will be part of WrestleMania weekend in some capacity, but it's more likely going to be as part of WrestleMania than, which I think is a bigger deal, especially in the pandemic. It's bigger for NXT to be part of WrestleMania, the actual event, instead of having an extra takeover night. I
agree. If I see a Karrion Kross versus Finn Balor at WrestleMania for the NXT title, I think I want to see the Karrion Kross entrance with fans at a Mania stage.
I know you were the one who clued me into the fact that we haven't seen a Karrion Kross entrance with fans in the building, and that's something I'm waiting to see. I think that'll be amazing.
Waiting on it.
So after the Kushida Theory match, we don't get in-ring action for about 20 minutes. They're really just giving you the hard sell of this pay-per-view. We get a pre-tape with Toni Storm. She's doing a promo about how she's going to be back as the NXT Women's Champion, still talking about how she did beat Io Shirai, and so she's telling the women to get back in line. Then we get an Imperium promo running down all the members so that we know, including the great Alexander Wolf, future WWE Champion. Then we go to Legado del Fantasma. They're knocked out backstage, and then you see Scarlett's legs walking in. Karrion Kross takes over, and he says, when you want something done right, you do it yourself. And he threatens Santos Escobar ahead of their tilt next week. He says, I'm going to do exactly what I just did to them. Then we get, Cameron Grimes shows up in a white Lamborghini. God, I was so happy to see this guy. Now, Cameron Grimes just stunting on everybody. He's got the suit on. He's got his monocles. He's got a hat. He's clearly coming to money. And it's the perfect reason. He comes in there, showing off all his wealth, and he says he got rich off of GameStop. He thought the GameStop would be a perfect stock to invest in because all I was doing over break was playing video games. And then afterwards, he also invested in the doggy coin. He thought that the dog coin would be great. And of course, he makes all this money doing this because this is his gimmick before it became a gimmick. He said he went to the moon and he made all kinds of money. Kiss my grits, William Regal. He's dancing in the money. He's doing the snow angels with his cash. God, this is the greatest wrestler of all time. I thought this was so funny. What did you guys think about Cameron Grimes coming back?
I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell by your excitement or nor enough
Yeah, I was completely neutral.
No, that's what makes wrestling awesome, man. When something clicks with you like that, it's exciting. It's fun to watch, and you're in. You're all the way in. This is why you watch it, to get through all the crap, to get through the boring stuff. And when you hit somebody like that, that's hitting on all cylinders, that you want to see finally hitting on all cylinders, finally do it. You know what I mean? Be given the opportunity, more importantly. You're like, that's it. That's it right there. That dude is a main event talent, WrestleMania moment waiting to happen. I'm dead serious. Like, that's the kind of vibe I got from that, watching him. That was a big time deal. That's what that felt like.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When this Cameron Grimes character started, and having seen the guy, having seen the Trevor Lee as previous,
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I had my doubts. I was just like, what is this? This just feels like just jobber life, jobber for life here,
with a little bit of haha to it. Yes.
Yeah, but to his credit, man, he has took it, and he the Jim Ross phrase, he's maximized his minutes. Everything he's done, promo or match, he's made this gimmick work. And again, like Pritchard will talk about it. Some guy, you might get strapped with a weird gimmick, but are you gonna just try to, are you gonna run with it and make it work, give it 100%? And he's given it 100%. I don't know if it was his idea, I don't know if it was Triple H's idea, I don't know who it was, but this works. And this I literally laughed out loud. We all use LOL too often. I actually was laughing out loud at him watching this go down. And I'm curious what's next. Like, so now Cameron Grimes is like a Ric Flair Cameron Grimes. He's making it rain. He's a Beverly Hillbilly. Like, he's like, nobody has more money than me in NXT. I was almost half waiting for Triple H to come out. Like, I don't know. It's just, I love when there's open potential for anything.
And you did mention, you bring up a good point, because we have to give credit to whoever's writing for NXT. There's a lot of very good comedy on NXT. In this show alone, there was more good comedy than you typically see. So there's clearly a connection with these characters and whoever's coming up with. I'm sure the characters have their input too, but there's a lot of good writing on this show that really needs to be commended.
You're right.
We go to backstage. Johnny Gargano's doing his go-home promo for Kushida. He's saying that he's not Johnny Takeover, or he's not going to be Johnny Wrestling or Johnny Wheelchair. He's going to be Johnny Takeover, and Kushida.
Johnny Wheelchair.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. They were chanting Johnny Wheelchair at him when he was in the middle of the ring. But listen, that Johnny Takeover versus Kushida match should be incredible. I'm very much looking forward to it, past all the comedy. And then we go to Io Shirai, who cut the pre-tape.
And real quick, and Kushida's finally coming into his own. And real quick, we got a super chat here. Superfan 499. I actually think I can answer this one. Whatever happened to that old WCW announcer, Mark Madden? Always enjoyed him. WWE or AEW should bring him back to commentate on one of their shows.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't. No, we're good.
No, Mark is here in Pittsburgh. He's actually the #1 afternoon drive radio host.
I like
here
Mark.
in Pittsburgh.
I've always liked Mark personally, but we don't.
And he won't go. He won't go to either of them. He won't be able to
do what he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a great shock jock. He's very good at it, and he can't be himself and do what he does.
Yeah, he can't be produced. I talk to Mark on a weekly basis. Still do some work with him. He's a great personality, but like Mark said, or Matt said, he can't be himself, so that's not going to happen. He's doing just fine in his current gig. Now, if you're interested in Mark Madden, he writes a column for my company here, TribLive.com. Twice a week, you can catch his sports columns, TribLive.com. So cheap plug there. Mark's here. He's on 105.9 The X on every afternoon, 3 to 6.
Excellent. We get into our main event. This is the Grizzled Young Vets versus Thatcher and Ciampa. This is a hard-hitting match, a lot of MMA transitions and technical moves. And I really love the story of this match because it did play into the finish in that Grizzled Young Veterans are such an established, cohesive tag team. Thatcher and Ciampa are these strange bedfellows who just came back a couple of weeks ago. So there were a few spots that played into that idea that these Grizzled Young Vets have had tag team experience. The commentators were bringing it up. And the finish came where Ciampa takes a doomsday device where he flips, and it's not scary looking or anything, but the man with a surgically repaired neck taking this, he takes it incredibly. And then the ticket to mayhem, and the finish plays where Grizzled Young Vets use their tag team know-how to keep Thatcher out of the ring while Ciampa is being pinned, and he loses. So now we get Grizzled Young Vets versus MSK, two up-and-coming tag teams in the Dusty Rhodes Classic Finals.
And two complete polar opposites, which will work fantastically. This is beer money versus Motor City Machine Guns.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And it's Brainbusters versus Rockers. This is gonna be like that type of style, and it's gonna be good. You're right.
Yeah. Grizzled vets are going to try to headlock this and shoulder lock this and keep it to the ground, and then all of a sudden MSK is going to break out and they're going to take them for a ride. This is going to be fun. Again, I think MSK gets the win, but this is a great finale of the right babyface group against the right heel tag team.
Exactly.
Think about that though, really quick, Justin. MSK was just minding their business on TNT or on Impact, just like a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not thinking, all right, we're here, we're in the middle of the card, they're not really doing much with us, kind of, sort of. They're on every week, but and then boom, a month later, they're about to win a huge WWE. Huge might be controversial when I say that, but it's a very big tournament. Let's just be honest. It is. And they win a tournament a month later. Like that's a hell of a month.
Yeah. They win a tournament and that makes them number one contenders for tag titles. And you'd have again, this is all on the assumption they win Sunday. You have no reason to believe that you have no reason to believe they don't win the titles. So
me either.
Yeah.
You guys think MSK is going to win?
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually think it's going to be Grizzled Young Vets because they went to the finals last year and lost. And I think that they're going to complete.
They did?
Yeah,
they did, but I think that they did, and commentary noted how this is the second year in a row they're going to the finals.
Right.
Alfred, I think if they go second year in a row and they lose again, that enables their grizzled young veteran cause.
Right.
Of we got screwed 2 years in a row. I
could see that.
Ugh,
but I'm still picking. So. I mean, I would love to see MSK winning, and this is how you make a star. Like these guys are on their way and winning the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Like they've been the stars of this tournament. It's my favorite part of NXT every week until Cameron Grimes came back, of course. But that's your main event, and that was the show.
To the moon.
To the moon. That's the thing. That was his gimmick before it became this huge internet phenomenon. So I'm glad he repurposed it.
Kiss my grits, William.
Kiss my grits. That was it. I did enjoy AEW more. I will say that I thought it was a better wrestling show, but NXT, they were a good go home show.
Well, and quick shout out to NXT. We don't have to go through it because we're about done. I like the hard sell that NXT ended with. Alfred, you and I talked about it before we started recording.
Yeah.
And now a commentator standing up, and then they're going through every single match on the card, and then we cut, and then it would be those people kind of like in like taunt mode. If you hit L2 on PlayStation, they're in the taunt mode at each other in different parts of the stage. It's a little cheesy, but I kind of like the hard sell they did. I thought this was really like a good investment to what they got going on in this Sunday takeover coming up here. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Definitely.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
I think they should do that every single takeover, or WWE pay-per-view should do this too. But I really did like that.
Yeah, I'm all for it. All right, so that was NXT. That was AEW. We thank you everybody for the super chats. Alfred, I know we've been putting over your John Cena interview, your Forbes.com stuff. Anything else you want to get over that we didn't talk about?
Yeah, sure. Let me just go to Forbes. Follow me on Twitter at This Is Nasty. Thanks for the kind words. And then watch my YouTube wrestling channel, Pro Wrestling Bits.
Very good. Matt Morgan?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Follow me at Justin LaBar. Again, Triple H Live tweeting of the call tomorrow. I'll be on the Wrestling Inc. Daily. Friday morning, I'm on Busted Open with Mark Henry and Dave LaGreca. And then Sunday night, we'll be back here on YouTube after Vengeance. I don't know what combination it'll be, but it'll be entertaining no matter what. Thanks to Manscaped. Thanks to all of you for making it happen. Thanks to my two co-hosts. Be safe. Good night. See you next time.
Bye, guys.